Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I am your ever shorty. I'm going to look at Guns of Brixton today, which is probably the closest I've come to reviewing like a truly independent little thing. It's published by Shift, who for the most part exist as a sci-fi anthology British manufactured British published thing. Only one of our regular customers gets it on his subscription list, but he seems to really enjoy it and he gets a lot of the side stories I do, so I thought I'd give this one a shot, see how it goes. Not only because it also appears to be zombie apocalypse with an anarcho-punk vibe to it, and yeah, okay, I'll give that one a shot. Don't get me wrong, not necessarily the biggest fan of zombie stories just for the sake of zombie stories, but I do like that they exist in a world where they can be used to tell different kinds of stories. I mentioned this in a recent video a while ago, talking about the fact that the very first Night of the Living Dead is about racism, because it was. And I think good zombie stories just use it as a jumping on point to talk about other things that are going on. And since punk as a music genre is explicitly political, I was like, okay, this could be a good look at some other take on it. I know Shaun of the Dead did a little bit about how we are all like, zombies in robots in a machine kind of thing. Punk being against that, this could be what they're going for. And it is certainly a zombie apocalypse, very narrow focus at the moment, which was planned and set about. This is not some random occurrence or a la Shaun of the Dead or Dawn of the Dead where we never really find out what it is that starts a zombie outbreak. This one we 100% know what it is. We see the dudes doing it. They're not nice dudes. But there's also some other little side story stuff going on very early on, which kind of sets up this idea that there's other things going on in terms of what the plan is and how it's going to play out. Now, when you get to the end of the comic book, you don't really get a full payoff for that. But that's fine. This is just issue 1. It's going to lean to other things. And in the past, I have said that I do think a good comic book can be, or should be, self-contained. It should have beginning, middle, end for this story. And this absolutely does that. We have the setup of these people getting ready to go to play a gig. We have the performance, which is actually done surprisingly well. I'll get back in a second. Then we have the aftermath where we actually see what happens with the zombies breaking out. And then it kind of ends with this cliffhanger of like, right, okay, there is more to discover. And I like that because it does feel self-contained. If you only read issue 1, you will get a complete story. But it does absolutely make you want to come back for more because there are clear answer questions. This is not an ambiguous, like, ooh, maybe there's something spooky going on. It's like, no, this is a literal plan going on here. Sorry about the noise, got the window open. And we need to find out who set this plan in motion, why they have, and what the repercussions that they're aiming to accomplish are. Again, I do apologise to know, somebody's ridden a loud motorbike outside the shop. Going back to the performance, though, it's one of those things that actually really lifted this up for me, because when I was first flicking through it, I've got to say the artwork didn't 100% land for me. It's very stylized, it's got a very British feel, which I don't mind in and of itself, but it feels very lo-fi, and also not necessarily the best I thought, or at least as good as I thought it was going to be, because the cover is brilliant. I don't often do this anymore, but that's a really good cover. It's very strong. I like the colouring, I like the detail work, I like the textures done for the colouring. Inside it is a little bit more basic, a little bit more lo-fi. I don't mind it per se, but it's certainly not the standout reason I'd recommend getting this book until we get to the gig. Now, as somebody who goes to live music events fairly often, certainly over my life, I've gone to more than the average person probably has done, I don't think you're ever going to be able to recapture exactly what it's like to be at a live music event on a page. Now, there's an awful lot of things that you can do with comic book art that's very clever and very inventive. You can play around with form very effectively, do interesting things with colours and layouts, but being at a gig is very multi-sensual. Yes, you are there to hear something, which is obviously hard to do. You can do interesting things with lettering and the like, and how you lay stuff out to show lyrics, which this does very effectively. Weirdly well-written lyrics. But you're never going to get the sound of the music going on there as well. You can do interesting things with trying to capture motion. There's a really nice shot behind the drum kit as he's absolutely wailing on it, which does give a sense of sound very effectively. But there's also the idea that you're surrounded by people. There will be a smell, depending on the location, and that smell might be more pungent than you'd like. But there's also the very physical nature of it. You cannot recreate slam dancing in a mosh pit on a page. I'm sure they've tried the best they can. But they don't take that as a challenge they're never going to succeed in. When I read Creeping Below and they had the black metal gig, that one kind of just went for one aspect of it. It was going for the moody, emotional, darkened nature of a gig in a rundown dive bar kind of thing. This is far more effervescent. It feels far more full of life, and it means it's a harder thing to do, but you still get a sense that they were trying really, really hard and did everything they could within the power of what you can do on a comic book page to make it work. And then later on, you get some absolutely brilliant, like, kung fu fight between moments when they're dealing with zombies, and the drummer deals with two at the same time, drumstick into each ear. Just brilliant, brilliant stuff. It is ultra violent. It is anarchic as hell. It's very lo-fi, very, very British. I mean, it's set literally in Brixton. There's the very, very famous London terrace houses in the brutalist style, which are really nice to see whenever you see them anywhere actually on media. I do really like it. I'm glad I put it on my pull list. I hope other people give this one a shot and actually try something a little bit different, a little bit away from the mainstream. It's absolutely worth your time to do it. That's it for me for now and the week. Until I see you all again, look after yourself, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.